I know we're going to keep I'm going to have the same answer a lot tonight. And it's go to Derek's website and order X, Y, and Z. And it's because like, they're like, well, what do you take for like, for fasted cardio? And I'm like, I take as much caffeine as it takes to get my heart rate to 130 easily. And I take the shit that Derek sells, this Rowelcine Ayohimbine shit. Like, that's like, you know, there's like 3 bottles in my house right now, and I would take it every single time before the before cardio. And they're like, well, what kind of pre-workout? I'm like, the only pre-workout you ever need is Derek's pre-workout. like I don't if I got any more pumped up, I'd fucking explode.
That's the question, Kyle. Pre-workout question: do you prefer no stim and some other stim method of getting that, or do you prefer the stim pre-workout?
Yeah, definitely no stim for me. I could see where maybe somebody like might want stim. Like maybe if you're not like, I think stim in pre-workout is good for people who maybe don't work out 5 days a week like I do. But in my case, like I want to be able to really tailor exactly how much stim I'm getting. I want some. Sometimes I want a lot some other times, and I want none sometimes. When I was doing those cardio sessions, I'm already like hitting myself so hard with caffeine to do this big hour-long cardio session first thing in the morning. My workout is 8 hours later, right? I don't want to like 8 hours later pump myself up with another big fat dose of caffeine and like mess with not only my tolerance but like tax my adrenal system and all that shit. Like it's gonna do some bad stuff to my body.
Does stim just mean caffeine?
Yeah,
anything stimulating.
Yeah.
So you like no stim pre-workout, so you can select your own stim.
I can tailor
levels.
it. I can tailor it for a number of reasons. Not only for the fasted cardio that I'm doing in conjunction with like lifting on the on the same days during the cut, but also when your tolerance goes up. So like some pre-workouts are like gonna put like 400 milligrams of scoop in there. That'd be a fat ass dose. Most of them are like 250 or something like that. I've seen 275, stuff like that. That ain't enough when I'm like at my max tolerance. Like I need 500 milligrams of fucking caffeine, which is probably not safe. I wouldn't, if I were a doctor, I certainly wouldn't recommend to take that much. But when my cousin asked me how much caffeine to take, I'm like, however fucking much it takes to get your heart rate to 130, dude. Like, does it take a gram? Don't tell me. Does it take a gram? Then don't fucking tell me about that, and drink a lot of water because your kidneys are gonna fall out of your asshole. But I would take. I started off with 200 milligrams, and I think at one point I was taking like 600, 700 milligrams at a time. And but I mean, I use my Samsung smartwatch, and I would send you guys some pictures sometimes of like my peak heart rate, and it would get up to 170. Like sometimes, most of the times I would do my steady state cardio at 130 beats per minute, and I would maintain that for an hour. But when I was really feeling motivated, I'd make the last 10 or 20 minutes of that workout just go as hard as I could. I tried it. I'd like, well, let's keep it at 150 for the last 15 minutes or something.
Dude, you'd send those like workout summations on the bike with your heart rate, and I'm like, I hope he's gonna be okay.
I see. Kyle had a cardiac event.
And the part I don't show you there is like when I get off the bike, I don't quit. Or when I get off the elliptical, I don't quit. Like I'm not like, all right, time to get in the shower. It's like, let's like soak up as much of this afterburn as we can. So I start like doing a brisk walk until my heart rate comes down to below like fat burning levels, until my heart rate's like 110 again or something like that.
What is fat burning level? 130, you said? Right? About
130 is where I'm at. But you're burning fat with every heartbeat, no matter what. But like you're being pretty effective at 130. So like I would get off, after 45 minutes of doing that cardio, and then I just do laps around the gym, like inside the gym, just doing like brisk, like fast walking, and like keeping an eye on my heart rate. And I'm like, shit, I can get an extra 10 minutes of cardio out of this almost. Like if I just like keep doing this. And part of me, the bitch part of me would be like, well, then you could just do 30 on the bike and then 10 around the gym. And I'm like, no, you can't, pussy. He said 45. He meant 45. He didn't say do 35 and then walk around for 10 minutes, did he?
So like, you start having these like internal debates with yourself, like while you're doing the shit.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had many internal debates, and there's always that as Wings of Redemption would say, that bitch in your blood. that'll start coming up with like, hey, maybe instead of cardio, you just go for an extra long walk after every meal today. That'll add up, right? No. You know what? We're going to do that anyway. And the cardio. See how you like that, bitch? And that part of you's like, I won't do. All right, I'll stay quiet. I'll stay quiet.
Shut up. I'm bigger than you now. You can't boss me around.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the people in my neighborhood, like, would see me walking every single fucking day because, you know, I'm doing those 10-minute walks after every meal. But then after a while, like, when we were doing the cardio, I would just go out and just walk for miles and miles during the day because I wanted to make sure I hit 15,000 steps a day. So I'd hit 15,000 steps a day in addition to cardio. They're at the end of the weight cut. And so I'm just like walking around my neighborhood every day for like a fucking hour or something like that in the morning. I would send you guys those pics. That's when I was sending you guys pictures of my fucking shadow. I was like, my shadow looks jacked.
That's a new level. Yeah.
Derek, what happens if teenagers, like during puberty, take test or TRT? Like, I see guys on SARMs, and I guess I'm talking about high school kids probably making bad decisions. Like, what goes on there? Do you know?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on how far they push it because they're already going through puberty with their testosterone peaking anyway. So if they shut themselves down, but they're on like a replacement amount of tests, it might just be the equivalent outcome realistically. However, if you have like dysregulated estrogen, like you have a tightly regulated amount of estrogenic conversion in your body. And when you have like your brain and your balls are determining how much you get, it's a bit different than when you're injecting something and you're kind of like ballparking manually. So there's like an argument to be made that if you have too much estrogenic signaling in your bones, you might like prematurely stunt your growth, especially when you try and come off the gear, you end up in like a low T state while you try and like post-cycle therapy recover back to baseline. You might hinder some sort of growth in your actual bone formation to some extent. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen because there are a lot of guys who took gear very young that still got taller, but it's like, in general, too, I just wouldn't fuck with anything that hasn't really completed maturation, like especially brain development, signaling with a bunch of androgens. Like it's different. I'm not going to say it's different when you use test versus like other steroids when you're a teen, but it's like ultimately when you're fucking with the actual tightly regulated mechanisms that determine how much, you know, stimulation your brain gets, how much, you know, spitting out of your balls, how much is getting to these bones. You're starting to manually cause changes or lack of development in certain areas of your brain potentially that I am certain there's guys who've used steroids too young who've permanently altered their brain chemistry and permanently act different because of it. And they just don't realize it. So
what's too young? Like, so like what do they say? Your frontal cortex finishes at 25. For some reason I was like 21 is fully out of puberty, but
yeah,
still too young.
In general, if you were to really put a cutoff on like, you probably shouldn't use anything like really synthetic and, you know, like not bioidentical as in not like just plain testosterone, like a, you know, something crazy, like a fucking trenbolone or something. There's an argument to be made that you wait until you're 25 because your brain is not going to be as easily manipulated / altered in some permanent aspect that's going to fuck with your like forever potentially. However, like the general rule of thumb is wait until you're fully grown, like stature wise, which could be, you know, 19, I don't know, 20, whatever. But in general, like my recommendation, because I know a lot of guys aren't going to wait till they're 25, is at least have a couple years under your belt of like training and diet, or understand it thoroughly and educate yourself. Because a lot of people, they go into it without understanding this, without the proper guidance, without the proper whatever. And if you go in haphazardly to hormone assistance, like especially, it's different if you like actually medically require TRT, like versus a guy who's like a teenager trying to just like blast super physiological amounts of hormones. If you're exposing yourself to like dangerous amounts of hormones and you don't have your diet dialed in, your training, you're like wasting your organ stress essentially to expose yourself to this shit. So it's like, make sure everything is dialed in so you can actually take advantage of the organ stress while you're under, you know, that burden essentially. So like, to answer your question, I would say once you've reached full stature development, which how are you going to determine that? Like, I guess you could get like an x-ray of like your bones and like see if shit has closed or not, like the growth plates and whatnot. But above and beyond that too, just like having a comprehensive understanding of how hormones work, or at least a reasonable one, given that if you don't have, it depends if you have a doctor overseeing your care or not, because a teenager is not going to get prescribed TRT unless they have, some sort of, I don't know, they got kicked in the nuts by a fucking horse and now their balls don't work. Like, I don't know, some weird situation like that. Maybe you need TRT. But for guys who are like 17 or like, I just want to get on TRT to get jacked, those individuals probably shouldn't be touching it regardless. Like, I'd wait until you're ready to dive into hormones because you understand them, you've reached full stature development, and you actually understand it to a point where you can do it without, like,